as we delve into the politics of the day on episode 545 of the Matt Murphy portion of the broadcast day until 3 o'clock. We hand off to Brian Wilson at that time. I'm going to loosen this tie up. Let's get to business. Let's start with this. I'm sorry to do this during the Libertarian lunchtime hour. I don't want to turn your stomach, but here's CBS This Morning.
But when these polls, like the Wall Street Journal one, land in the White House and he's losing in all the battleground states.
No, he's not losing in all the battleground states. He's coming up, and he's even or doing better. So, you know what? Once people start to focus in and they see their two choices, it's obvious that Joe will win this election.
All
right. You know who that is? That's Dr. Jill Biden. Dr. Jill.
I'm surprised that she would say something like that. I would have expected her to fully come out against her husband.
Well, they're there because apparently the National Teacher of the Year was on CBS This Morning. I don't watch CBS This Morning. Obviously, I see this clip as it passes by on the X machine. What I loved about the clip was the last of the quote right at the end there. The quote's
Once
good.
people start to focus in and they see their two choices, it's obvious that Joe will win this election.
All right.
It's obvious that Joe will win this election. She also says that in the battleground states that Joe's winning. You know what? Don't you tell me Donald Trump's winning in all these battleground states.
No, he's not losing in all the battleground states. He's coming up, and
Joe is losing in all the battle. I don't know what to tell you, Jill. I mean, you're the doctor. I'm not a doctor. I've never claimed to be a doctor. I don't know what sort of doctor you are exactly, but I guess not a medical doctor. You have a PhD, but I look at the polls too. Now, I don't focus on them that much, like apparently you folks are doing, because you recognize that Joe Biden is losing. He's losing for a number of reasons, primarily because he's not getting it done for the American people. Our economy is worse than it was when he took office. Our southern border is an absolute disaster. Americans are war weary, and we watch you as you slowly walk us into entanglements in foreign countries where most Americans, they couldn't find it on a map if they tried. You don't have the back. You're playing both ends against the middle when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian or Hamas conflict. And you know what you're doing. And the American people know what you're doing. It is no mistake that the Democratic Party, under the leadership of the Biden cabal and with the assistance of the propaganda machine that is the mainstream media in favor of the Democrats, it's no mistake that these individuals have begun the attacks as they have. They don't expect to wake their voters up until September or October. Sadly, the Democrats are left with relying on the ignorance at best, stupidity at worst of the American people in order to get reelected. And in order to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish amongst those dumb people, sad to say, they have to convince them that Donald Trump is the worst of the worst, worse than the worst. Who is Donald Trump? Donald Trump was the worst, and now he's worse than the worst. And they will do so in every way imaginable, but they already have. It falls on deaf ears. Doesn't it? Seems so. So if you look at some of these battleground states that, by the way, Jill Biden,
No, he's not losing in all the battleground states. He's coming up, and he's even or doing better. So,
look, I love that pushback there. Now, I don't expect that this fella, I don't know his name, at CBS This Morning, I don't expect that he'll sit there with Gayle King and push back very much on Jill Biden. He loves Jill Biden after all, but he knows what the poll says. And he told her some truth, and listen to her.
He's losing in all the battleground states.
No, he's not losing in all the battleground states. He's coming up, and he's even or doing better. So, you know what? Once people start to focus in and they see their two choices, it's obvious that Joe will win this election.
Okay, does anybody notice what she does there? She talks about two choices. One, there's not going to be two choices this election cycle. Robert F. Kennedy will get on every ballot in the United States of America. The ballots that he's currently not on, he's been waiting to get on because there are requirements in those states that he has a running mate to run alongside of him. Now that he has selected a running mate, a rather liberal running mate, I might add, he will get on those ballots. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. helps Donald Trump and hurts Joe Biden. Now, he takes some votes away from Donald Trump, particularly those people who are focused in on the pandemic, or that which was called the pandemic of 2020, 2021, and some of the ineffective and onerous and overburdensome treatment that we received from the government of the United States of America under Donald Trump and then subsequently under Joe Biden. It was much, much worse under Joe, but some people have some concerns about Fauci under Trump as well. Some of those people might gravitate to Robert F. Kennedy that would otherwise vote for Donald Trump. But for the vast majority of voters, I believe they're coming from Joe Biden's cabal. They're coming from Joe Biden's camp. And the Democrats know that as well. So they're going to try to manage this as a two-person race as best they can when they very well know that there is a third option. That said, if there were only two, let's go through the battlegrounds. Trump, Biden. Wisconsin, Trump is up by almost a point. These are the latest Real Clear Politics polling averages. Trump is up in Wisconsin by a little less than a point. He's up in Arizona by over 5. He's up in Georgia by 4.5. He's up in Michigan by 3.5. He's up in Pennsylvania by 0.6. He's up in North Carolina by 4.6. He's up in Nevada by 3.2. Those numbers hold, and it's a sweep. Donald Trump wins election easily over Joe Biden. Now, you put Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the mix, maybe a fourth candidate that we're not really sure about. There are other candidates floating out there, but if you put RFK in the mix, Donald Trump's lead increases in each of those states. Jill Biden's not telling the truth, and you're not going to see the news cycle for the next 24 hours remind the American people that Jill Biden is sitting on a national news program lying to the American people. These are facts. These are polls. These aren't things that you can make up. Now, I'm not telling you that the polls are right or the polls will be the same today that they are on election day. You know my thing about polling. I don't talk about polling very much unless it comes up in this way, because the polling is always predicated on if the election were held today. Well, the election's not held today, and there's plenty of slip between the cup and the lip. We need to get there, and they have yet to awaken the ignorant and the dumb voters, which they rely on every summer to wake up out of their political slumber and manage to drag themselves to the polls either through early voting or on voting day and vote for the guy that's going to cut them a piece of the largesse of government. Jill Biden knows what she's saying isn't so. These are talking points, and they're never pushed back on. Part and parcel of the mainstream press.